Hey everyone, Yan Zhao back again. Today we are going to talk about the Netflix show nobody asked for, Cowboy Bebop 2021. If this show were called anything but Cowboy Bebop, I think I would probably really like it. It's got a lot of really nice features, very stylized camera work, very stylized sets. You've got jazz playing, everything seems to be based on the 1970s with future tech involved. But unfortunately, it is a remake of Cowboy Bebop. And it kind of reads like they got this IP and people were like, cool, space, bounty hunters, kind of like a Firefly situation. But nobody actually watched it. And it comes off sort of like if they remade Schindler's List, but decided it would be a slapstick comedy. Now, I would absolutely watch a series about people in a Nazi prison camp. I loved Hogan's Heroes back in the days. But Schindler's List? Oh, hell no, you better not be doing that slapstick. And unfortunately, that's what this comes off as. So, in doing this remake, some things come off authentic, just like the original series, and others clearly they wanted to have their own take. Let's just start with the music. This is an internationally recognized soundtrack with the wonderful Yoko Kanno and her band, the Seatbelts, performing all of the music. You have sort of bluesy, slide guitar, you have more hot jazz, and they use all of it in this show, and it works pretty well. The only problem is there's not enough music. The original Cowboy Bebop episodes were about a half an hour long. These episodes are 1 hour long. So they need other music to fill in, and unfortunately, it just doesn't match in with the great jazz soundtracks. Now, if we look at the characters themselves, we'll go from awesome to questionable. Playing Jet is Mustafa Shakir. He played the Bushmaster in the second season of Luke Cage. He is a fantastic Jet Black, other than I still think the guy looks like a vegan. Jet in the cartoon was jacked. This guy, not so much, but he's big, he's got the right attitude and cadence, and hell, he even does a voice that sounds a lot like Jet. Then we have the main character, Spike Spiegel, played by John Cho. In a lot of ways, John does a great job, and I like John as an actor, but part of the problem is Spike Spiegel is supposed to be about 28 years old. John Cho comes off as a very tired 40-something. And it comes off as a problem in a few areas. Spike was always after women. He's not really after women in this at all. And the bigger problem are the fight scenes. Now, some of them are kind of okay, and John does a reasonable job for a 40-something-year-old man who's never fought before. It really would have been better if they had got somebody younger to play the role who was faster and could have had more exciting sports scenes. You know, there are more than 5 Asian actors in Hollywood. They could have picked somebody new. And unfortunately, that's not the only change to the character. Part of it is his pining over his lost girlfriend. And we'll get back to that in a minute. Now, the absolute horrible acting of Danielle Pineda as Faye Valentine. Oh my god, Faye is awful. In the show, Faye was really very insecure, but she was brash and she was covering up for her traumatic past, and she often used her sexuality as a weapon against people. And they kind of sort of mention it once, but this lady is just not sexy. I don't know, she kind of plays Faye Valentine as like if your sister were teasing you with the possibility that she might be sexual, but actually isn't. One of the joys of the original Cowboy Bebop is that it was episodic. Yeah, it kind of sort of had a storyline, but each episode could really be watched on its own. Every character had a backstory, which eventually got fleshed out, but the backstory really served to illustrate the character's current actions and motivations. Why does Jet act like this? Why does Spike act like that? And in this way, it made a lot of sense. Unfortunately, for the 2021 version, they decided to make these backstories into the overarching theme or storyline. So, for example, in almost every episode, we get to see Vicious and Julia. So, Julia was Spike's ex girlfriend, who he loved, and in this show at least, everybody thought that Spike, who used to be called Fearless, is dead. Julia marries Spike's partner, Vicious. Partner, like business partner. We'll get into the partner thing in a minute. In an episode early on, it's shown that Vicious is almost made to kill her by the Syndicate. And this is just leads to a very, very boring story about how Vicious is now going to try to take over the Syndicate, and Julia is sort of manipulating things because she's afraid she's going to die. No one freaking cares. What we care about are the 4 characters on the Bebop. We only need to see the backstories for like part of an episode. We don't need to see them every episode. They're boring. And again, that's part of the problem with the series. The cartoons were only a half an hour each. If they had made either half the episodes, a total of 5, or if they had made each episode 30 minutes, you would have gotten a lot more out of it. You wouldn't need all this extraneous material. For example, they have the character of Gren, who in the cartoon was given hormones while he was in the military and basically became transsexual. This was pretty big back in 1998. In 2021, Netflix has apparently thought that, well, that's problematic, so they brought Gren back as a proper transsexual who is basically in most of the episodes just kind of hanging out. And this is one other problem with the series. Netflix just really has some stick up its ass about making everybody gay. Faye has lesbian sex, her first one, and an orgasm, and she goes on and on about it. It's just, why bring these things into a cartoon that doesn't need it? I mean, if you think that the character of Gren was not treated well in the original cartoon, and you want to change him a little bit, cool. Make those changes. But he doesn't serve a purpose in any of the episodes that he's in. He was a main character, a main guest character in one episode in the cartoon. That doesn't make him a fantastic character later. Now, one thing that this show, I think, makes a good change about is it would be very hard to build all the sets necessary. So like I mentioned, it has a fairly 70s motif. You see a lot of times when they're on different planets, and it looks like it's kind of on a movie set, where it's like old Main Street America, buildings that were built maybe in the 50s. And I'm pretty sure Jet's ex-wife lives in a house in Pasadena. This is all pretty good use to create a cohesive style, although the only thing I would criticize about this even is they go to a bunch of different planets. They're on Ganymede for a while. They go to Mars, of course, space stations and whatnot. It would have been better if they had picked slightly different environments. This very clearly was filmed in Southern California. Here in Southern California, there are different neighborhoods with different style houses. It would have been better if they had just done a little bit different. Maybe the houses on Ganymede are Victorian, whereas on Mars, they're craftsmen. I don't know. Something just a little different to make it easier visually to say, oh, this is this planet, that's that planet. But overall, I would really love to love this show. I'm only on episode 5, and it's kind of dragging, as most Netflix shows do. To be honest, you could skip episode 5 and episode 6. Probably 1 or 2 episodes later would be a good one to pick up on. But overall, a lot of creativity and a lot of interesting ideas just crammed into a place that nobody wants it. The problem is the original Cowboy Bebop was a masterpiece. Not the Japanese version, the American version. Was a masterpiece of storytelling. It combined excellent graphics, excellent acting, and you just can't beat the original. You can't remake the Ten Commandments. You can't remake Ben-Hur. Well, they did remake Ben-Hur, and it was a piece of crap. There are just certain movies that are done so well with whatever imperfections they had at the time that you don't need any more. All right, everyone, what did you think of Cowboy Bebop? Leave your comments down below. Subscribe to the channel. Yes, I know it's been forever since I've done a TV movie review, but there will be more coming, I promise. Like the video, subscribe, and I'll be back soon.